Have you ever stopped to think about the silent architects, the ones behind the scientific breakthroughs that will really change our lives?
That's a great point.
The technologies that just day in, day out quietly power everything, new medicines, better diagnostics, understanding life itself.
It really is. It's
Yeah.
funny how the um, the most critical infrastructure, the stuff making it all possible, often just goes completely unnoticed.
Right.
Think of it like the precision engineering working tirelessly in the background, or maybe the essential picks and shovels for the gold rush in biotech and pharma today.
That's a perfect analogy, picks and shovels. Because without them,
Exactly. Many of the biggest advances just wouldn't happen, or certainly not as fast.
and that really brings us to our deep dive today. Tecan Group Ltd. That's TECN.SW on the Swiss Stock Exchange.
hmm
They're a leading Swiss company, global provider of laboratory automation instruments and solutions. Basically, the silent engine humming away in, well, countless labs all over the world.
That's them, enabling scientists to do some pretty incredible things faster, more accurately, just better.
So what's our mission for this deep dive? What are we trying to unpack here?
Well, our goal is to really get under the hood of Tecan, to unpack their unique dual business model, which is quite fascinating, actually.
Okay.
We want to understand its strategic position, where it fits in this incredibly fast-moving life sciences industry. And maybe most interesting, explore how this company is navigating some pretty significant market challenges right now.
Challenges, but also position for growth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
How they seem poised for long-term sustainable growth despite those headwinds. We'll be digging into a comprehensive investment analysis report, basically pulling out the key insights, the nuggets of knowledge, to give you a real shortcut to understanding this really important company.
Okay, sounds great. So if you're curious about the future of medicine, biotechnology, all that automation making it tick, get ready.
Yeah, this is where it gets interesting.
Let's dive in, you say. The dual engine model. Understanding Tecan's core strategy. All right, you mentioned their core mission. Let's get into the nuts and bolts. Laboratory automation. What does that actually look like in a lab? Why is it so critical but, invisible to most of us?
Yeah, good place to start. So at its core, lab automation is about replacing manual tasks. That often tedious, repetitive things scientists do.
Like moving tiny drops of liquid around.
Exactly like that, pipetting. Think about any complex experiment or diagnostic test. It almost always involves handling tiny volumes of liquid, mixing things precisely, keeping samples at just the right temperature, analyzing tons of data.
Sounds painstaking.
It is. And traditionally, yeah, a scientist or a lab tech would spend hours, days doing this by hand, pipetting, moving little plastic plates around, tracking data,
Yeah.
often repeating it hundreds, maybe thousands of times.
Okay, I can see how that's slow and probably easy to make mistakes.
Very easy. Human error is a huge factor. It can totally compromise research results or worth diagnostic accuracy.
Yeah.
And it severely limits throughput, just the sheer number of experiments you can run.
So Tecan comes in and automates all that.
Precisely. Their instruments, their systems, they automate these complex workflows. The robots handle the liquid transfers with incredible precision, move the plates, manage the incubation, collect the data tirelessly, efficiently, and crucially, without human variability.
Oh, reproducibility. That's key in science, right?
Absolutely essential. For reproducibility, for speed, just getting results faster, and for accuracy, whether it's cutting-edge research or just routine diagnostics.
So they're hidden because they're inside the labs doing the work.
Right, behind the scenes in research centers, hospitals, pharma companies.
Right.
But their impact on accelerating science is profound. They don't just speed things up, they make the results more reliable, more trustworthy.
That image of someone hand pipetting thousands of samples?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay, automation seems like a no-brainer, like a super accurate robot assistant.
it really is. And Tecan has leveraged this need brilliantly. They're positioned right at the crossroads of several major long-term growth trends, powerful trends.
Like what?
Well, think about rising pharmaceutical R&D spending globally. It just keeps going up.
Billions and billions.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then there's the massive expansion of biotechnology,
Right.
personalized medicine, all that innovation.
Right.
And finally, just the increasing demand for automation itself
Right.
across the board. So Tecan isn't just selling tools. They're fundamentally enabling the future of science by tapping into these huge ongoing shifts.
Okay, so beyond just being the picks and shovels, what's their strategic edge? You mentioned this dual business model, a two-headed dragon. break that down for us. That seems central.
It absolutely is. It's
Okay.
fundamental to their strength, their resilience.
Yep.
Tecan operates two distinct segments, but they're deeply complementary, almost symbiotic.
Okay.
He's got the life sciences business, the LSB.
Yeah.
That's their direct-to-lab approach.
Selling Tecan branded stuff directly.
Right. And then there's the partnering business, which acts as an original equipment manufacturer, or OEM.
Making components for other companies.
Exactly. And this isn't just two separate income streams. It creates this powerful feedback loop. It actually helps de-risk innovation because they can develop tech in one area and apply it in the other. And it builds these incredibly deep, sticky relationships with customers on both sides. High switching costs. It's a really robust ecosystem. Obvi one. Life sciences business, LSB, the direct-to-lab approach.
All right, let's tackle the life sciences business first. LSB. This is Tecan selling their own branded gear directly to the labs. Who's buying this stuff, and what are the key products?
That's it. LSB is Tecan branded solutions direct to end users. And the customer base is pretty broad, which shows you how widely lab automation is used now.
Okay.
You've got the big pharmaceutical companies developing the next blockbuster drugs. You've got smaller, agile biotech firms working on gene editing or new therapies, university research labs doing fundamental science, and of course, diagnostic labs running clinical tests for patients.
So a wide range. What are they actually selling them? The machines, I guess.
Primarily, yes. Advanced automation instruments.
Yeah.
Especially for liquid handling. That's their historical sweet spot. Moving tiny amounts of liquid very precisely.
Okay, so what are the flagship instruments, the ones a lab tech would know?
Well, their big workhorses are the Fluenty and the Freedom EVO series. These are powerful, really versatile liquid handling workstations. They automate super complex workflows, handling everything from preparing the initial samples to running intricate experiments.
Right.
But they're not standing still. Innovation is key. For example, in 2025, they launched the VEA Multi-Omics workstation.
Multiomics. What's that?
It means looking at multiple layers of biology at once: genes, genomics, proteins, proteomics, metabolites, metabolomics, all from the same sample. Gives you a much richer picture.
Okay. More comprehensive data.
Exactly. And the VEA is designed to sort of democratize this complex automation. It has a really intuitive user interface, making it accessible to labs that maybe don't have specialized automation engineers on staff.
Bringing it to more people.
Right. Beyond liquid handling, they also have things like the Sparky series, microplate readers, vital for detecting reactions, plus washers, other specialized instruments, and really critical software, like FlowPilot, which basically conducts the orchestra of a complex experiment.
So it's not just the big machines, it's the whole package, the bits and pieces too.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's crucial for their long-term value. They offer a whole range of consumables, things that get used up,
Like?
like specialized pipette tips.
Yeah.
These aren't just generic plastic tips. They're engineered for incredible precision, specific applications, preventing contamination. Very important.
Got it.
And proprietary reagents, the chemical solutions needed for complex processes like, say, preparing samples for next-generation sequencing NGS.
Okay.
Plus, naturally, spare parts and service contracts to keep these sophisticated instruments running perfectly. Maximizing uptime is critical in a lab.
And this is where that razor blade model comes in, you mentioned.
Exactly. The instrument, the razor, gets them into the lab ecosystem. But it's the long-term, high-margin recurring revenue from the blades, the tips, the reagents, the service contracts that really forms the backbone of the LSB segment. It's a beautiful model.
So once a lab buys a Tecan machine, they're kind of locked in. Is it hard to switch? Even for something like pipette tips, that recurring revenue must make their business much more predictable, right?
It's a huge deal. And yes, switching is incredibly difficult, which is a major competitive advantage for them.
Why so hard?
Well, think about it. Once a lab integrates an automation platform like a Tecan Fluent into its validated workflow, it's not just unplugging one machine and plugging in another.
Right.
It means revalidating entire experimental protocols, which takes time and money, retraining staff, maybe rewriting software integrations, and you risk disrupting ongoing research or critical diagnostic services.
Yeah, sounds like a nightmare for a lab manager.
It is. The cost and time involved are usually prohibitive. And this stickiness is why that recurring revenue share in the LSB has climbed so dramatically, from around 42% back in 2017
Okay.
to a really significant 62.1% in the first half of 2025.
Wow, over 60%.
Yeah. And that fundamentally improves the quality, the predictability of Tecan's earnings. When that much of your revenue comes from high-margin, reliable sources, it creates a very stable foundation, makes them much more resilient. IV2, partnering business, OEM, the behind-the-scenes enabler.
Okay, that LSB side makes sense. Very sticky. Now let's flip to the other head of that dragon, the partnering business, the OEM side. This is where they're working behind other big names, almost invisibly, like the secret ingredient.
Precisely. That's a great way to put it. In the partnering business, Tecan functions as an original equipment manufacturer.
OEM.
Right, so they develop and manufacture instruments or modules or critical components, which are then sold by their partner companies, often under the partner's well-known brand.
So you might see a machine from a big diagnostics company, but Tecan Tech is inside.
Very often, yes. You might not see the Tecan logo, but their engineering, their technology is frequently at the core. Their customers here are the giants of the industry-leading IVD companies.
In vitro diagnostics, like blood tests, right?
Exactly. And other life sciences, tool companies, medical technology firms, these big players need specialized high-performance components or systems, but they choose to outsource the development and manufacturing to experts like Tecan.
Okay, but wait. You know some of these partners are also their competitors in the LSB market. How does that work? Isn't that a conflict?
It seems counterintuitive, doesn't it? But it's actually a profound insight into Tecan's competitive strength, their moat.
How so?
Because the OEM business gives Tecan incredibly deep early insights into the long-term technology roadmaps of these major diagnostics and medtech companies, often years before products hit the market.
Ah, market intelligence.
Exactly. Critical intelligence, which in turn informs the R&D pipeline for their own life sciences business. They can anticipate future needs and develop their branded products accordingly.
Okay, that makes sense.
And it works the other way, too. New technologies or modules Tecan develops for its own LSB products can then be offered as OEM components to partners.
So they leverage their R&D both ways.
Right. It accelerates market adoption for their innovations and gives them a highly efficient return on R&D investment. It's truly symbiotic, creates an exceptionally strong competitive moat, making it really hard for anyone else to replicate that position.
So give us some examples. What kind of Tecan-made components might be hiding inside other companies' machines?
Well, their Cabral line is probably the best-known example. It includes market-leading OEM components, like incredibly precise liquid-handling pumps and robotic arms. These are integral to many diagnostic and lab systems out there, renowned for reliability and precision.
Okay.
They also offer Synergens, which is basically developing fully customized OEM systems tailored exactly to a partner's needs. Could be a brand new diagnostic platform, a specialized instrument, whatever the partner requires.
So full custom builds.
Yes, and a really significant development here, a game changer really, was the acquisition of Paramit back in 2021.
Right, you mentioned that. What did Paramit bring?
Paramit dramatically expanded Tecan's capabilities into full-service contract development and manufacturing CDMO, specifically for complex medical devices.
Ah, so beyond just lab tools into things used directly on patients.
Potentially, yes. Or complex diagnostic instruments that fall under medical device regulations. This significantly broadened their total addressable market. It allows them to engage in the entire product lifecycle, from initial design concept right through to high-volume manufacturing for highly regulated med tech products. There's a major strategic expansion into a huge adjacent market.
Yeah.
To the invisible forces, industry dynamics, and Tecan's strategic position.
Okay, this whole ecosystem, drug discovery, diagnostics, personalized medicine, it feels like it's just constantly growing, constantly innovating. It sounds like Tecan is riding some serious tailwinds here. What are the big underlying trends driving demand for their solutions?
You're absolutely right to look at the bigger picture. The life sciences tools and lab automation markets are definitely supported by some very powerful, long-term, secular growth drivers. These aren't just short-term fads. They're fundamental shifts. 2A1, pharmaceutical and biotechnology R&D spending.
Let's start with pharma R&D. That has to be a monster engine for them, right?
Yeah.
Billions spent discovering drugs means needing lots of tools.
It's arguably the biggest engine. The sheer amount of money invested by pharma and biotech companies in R&D is immense, and it just keeps climbing.
Do we have any numbers on that?
Well, get this. The top 20 global pharma companies alone spent over $145 billion on R&D in 2022-23.
Wow, 145 billion.
And that figure continues to trend upwards, driven by the constant need for new treatments, new cures, and those huge expenditures directly fund buying advanced lab tools, sophisticated automation systems, high-precision consumables, everything Tecan sells.
Makes sense. If you're screening millions of compounds for a new drug.
You absolutely need the most efficient, precise, reliable tools. Tecan's platforms are indispensable for that. They speed up the whole drug discovery pipeline, from early research right through clinical trials. The arting too, growth of the biotechnology sector.
Okay, so traditional pharma is huge.
Yeah.
But then there's biotech, which seems like it's exploding. Gene editing, mRNA, cell therapies. How does that fuel demand for Tecan?
Biotech is in an incredible phase right now, unprecedented innovation.
Yeah.
You mentioned CRISPR gene editing, revolutionary stuff,
Yeah.
potentially curing inherited diseases.
Right.
mRNA vaccines, we all saw how transformative they were. That's opened up whole new ways to develop vaccines and therapies.
Yeah.
And then cell and gene therapies, highly personalized, often curative treatments for things like cancer, genetic disorders,
Yeah.
stuff that was untreatable before.
But these sound incredibly complex to develop and manufacture.
They are. These are complex, data-intensive applications. You simply cannot do them effectively at scale by hand. They inherently rely on high-precision automation for scalability, for reproducibility of these sensitive biological processes, and just for the sheer volume of work required.
So biotech needs automation even more.
Absolutely. And the projections are staggering. The global biotechnology market size is forecast to hit something like 5.7 trillion US dollars by 2034.
Trillion. Wow.
It's a massive growth trajectory, and Tecan's automation solutions are perfectly positioned to support and enable that entire revolution. They're really providing the essential infrastructure. Take capacity 3, demand for automation itself.
So the science is growing, driving tool demand, but is the demand for automation itself also growing? Like, is it becoming more central to how labs operate generally?
Yes, that's the other key trend. The move away from manual lab processes towards automation is driven by several compelling factors right across the scientific world.
Okay, like what?
First, the relentless need for higher throughput. We mentioned drug screening, testing millions of compounds. Automation makes that possible. Manual methods, forget it.
Right, speed and scale.
Second, and really critical, is the demand for better data accuracy and reproducibility. Regulatory standards are getting tougher everywhere. Automation cuts down human variability and error, ensuring results are reliable, consistent, essential for diagnostics, essential for getting drugs approved.
Makes sense. And you mentioned staffing.
Yeah, that's the third factor. Labs worldwide often face shortages of skilled personnel. Automation helps address that. It lets highly trained staff focus on the complex thinking, analysis, interpretation, while machines handle the repetitive, high-volume work.
So it frees up the scientists.
Exactly. And the overall lab automation market itself reflects this. It's projected to grow steadily, maybe 6.5% to 9.4% CDR through 2030, 2035. Solid, long-term growth. And here's the kicker. While the core automation market grows nicely, the underlying fields it serves, like biotech, are growing even faster, often double digits.
So the intensity of automation use is increasing within those fast-growing fields.
Precisely. As biotech gets more complex, more personalized, needs more scale, it demands even more sophisticated integrated automation. That's a powerful amplifier for companies like Tecan, who are already deeply embedded there. IB, a shifting regulatory landscape, the FDA's LDT rule.
Okay, shifting gears a bit. I heard something about a new FDA rule. Something about LDTs, laboratory-developed tests. Sounds like it could be a big deal for diagnostics. What's the story there?
Yes, that's a very significant development. The FDA's final rule on laboratory-developed tests, LDTs, came out in May 2024.
Okay, and what are LDTs exactly?
So for a long time, the FDA practiced what's called enforcement discretion over LDTs. Basically, diagnostic tests developed and used within a single clinical laboratory weren't subject to the same super strict regulatory review as commercial diagnostic kits sold widely, the IVDs.
So tests made in-house by labs had an easier path.
Kind of, yeah. But this new rule changes that. It's phasing out that discretion over 4 years. Soon, LDTs will have to meet the same stringent regulatory standards as commercial IVD products.
Wow, okay. That sounds like a huge burden for those labs making their own tests. How does more regulation potentially become an advantage for a company like Tecan? Seems counterintuitive.
It absolutely is a burden for those labs. And that's exactly where the strategic advantage for Tecan comes in.
Oh.
Because meeting these new tough standards, extensive clinical validation, strict manufacturing quality controls, post-market surveillance, it's a massive undertaking. Many individual labs just don't have the in-house expertise, the infrastructure, or, frankly, the money to comply.
So they'll need help.
Exactly. It creates a really powerful incentive for these labs and for diagnostic companies developing new tests to outsource the development and manufacturing of their diagnostic platforms to establish partners who already meet these FDA standards.
And that's where Tecan's partnering business comes in.
Precisely. Tecan, especially with Pyramid's capabilities, has deep, proven expertise in navigating these complex regulatory environments. They know how to design, validate, and manufacture compliant diagnostic systems. So this rule change could be a major structural tailwind for their partnering business. It basically funnels more high-value work towards companies like them, turns a hurdle for many into a real opportunity for Tecan, to AIC, technology evolution, digitalization, and modularity.
Okay, regulation is one force. What about technology itself? Things are always evolving. What are the big tech trends shaping lab automation and Tecan's strategy?
Yeah, technology is moving incredibly fast, especially around digitalization and connectivity. It's really transforming how labs work. One, digitalization and AI.
Digitalization and AI. We hear about AI everywhere. How is it actually changing things inside a lab instrument?
It's becoming huge. AI and machine learning are enabling much smarter workflows. Instruments can make intelligent decisions on the fly, optimize experiments in real time.
Huh, like the machine learns as it goes.
Sort of, yes.
Hmm.
It's also powering advanced data analytics, finding patterns in massive genomic data sets or thousands of test results that a human could never spot.
Okay.
And another big one is predictive maintenance. The instrument can signal it needs service before it breaks down.
Like your car's check engine light, but for $1 million lab machine?
Exactly.
Hmm.
Saves critical research time, prevents costly downtime. The whole industry is moving beyond standalone instruments towards integrated platforms or ecosystems, hardware, software, consumables, all working together seamlessly.
And Tecan's playing in that space.
Definitely. They're investing in things like Introspect, which allows remote monitoring and management of a whole fleet of Tecan instruments. And they emphasize open, modular software so their systems can talk to other equipment in the lab. It's about creating that fully connected digital lab environment, IC2, modularity and accessibility.
What about making these super complex machines easier to use? Not every lab has a robotics PhD on staff, right?
That's a really crucial point for broadening the market. There's huge demand for more flexible modular systems. Systems that are easy to configure, easy to scale up or down, and importantly, easy to operate, even if you're not an automation specialist.
Making it more user-friendly.
Exactly. It's about democratizing automation,
Mhm.
making it accessible to smaller labs, academic groups, startups, not just the giant pharma companies.
And Tecan's doing this.
Yes, that VR workstation we mentioned is a prime example, designed specifically with an intuitive interface to lower the barrier to entry for complex multi-omics work. This focus on usability, flexibility, modularity, it's key to putting these powerful tools into more scientists' hands. 3, the competitive arena, where Tecan stands out.
Okay, so Tecan sounds strong, well-positioned, but they're not alone in this market, right? It's a competitive space. Who are their main rivals, and how do they manage to compete, especially against some real giants?
You're right, it's definitely not a monopoly. The lab automation market is, let's say, moderately consolidated. The top few players control maybe 45–60% of the market. So yes, it's competitive, but Tecan has carved out a very strong, defensible niche, 3A battling giants and collaborating with them.
So who are these other big players? Who keeps Tecan on their toes?
Well, you've got some enormous diversified conglomerates. Think Thermo Fisher Scientific, Danaher Corporation, which owns well-known brands like Beckman Coulter and Molecular Devices. These guys are huge, vast resources, massive product portfolios,
Okay, the Goliaths.
pretty much. Then you have more specialized automation leaders. This group includes Tecan itself, and probably their most direct competitor, Hamilton Company, also known for high-precision liquid handling, also Swiss-based, interestingly enough, though privately held.
Hamilton, okay. Any others?
Yeah, companies like Agilent Technologies, Revity, which used to be PerkinElmer and Eppendorf, are also significant players in various parts of the market.
So where does Tecan rank in that group? Are they a leader or more middle of the pack?
Oh, they're definitely top tier, especially in their core strength, automated liquid handling, and in those specialized OEM solutions we talked about.
Right.
Among the top 5 in automated liquid handling systems globally, Tecan holds a really significant share. Estimates range from 60–65% among those top players. They're widely seen as a premium brand. Swiss engineering, quality, reliability, advanced tech. And here's where it gets really interesting. Again, that frenemy dynamic in the partnering business.
Right, supplying components to competitors.
Exactly. They develop and supply critical parts, sometimes whole systems, for huge diagnostics, companies like Thermo Fisher, Siemens Healthineers, Sysmex, companies that are also their competitors in the direct-to-lab market.
It still sounds risky.
But it's a massive validation of Tecan's technology. It underscores their leadership.
Yeah.
Even their biggest rivals find it better, more efficient to partner with Tecan for certain highly specialized tech than to try and replicate it themselves. It basically says, Tecan does this specific thing better than anyone, even us. That's a powerful statement. 3B Tecan's moat. What makes its business sticky?
Okay, that is a strong statement.
Right.
But how do they protect that position? What are Tecan's key competitive advantages, their moat, that makes their business so durable and sticky, keeps those giants at bay?
They've very deliberately built several layers to their competitive moat. Really durable advantages. 3B1. Synergistic business model and OEM mode. First and foremost, as we've hit on, is that synergistic dual business model. The partnering business especially creates an incredibly strong moat.
Because of the high switching costs.
Exactly. When Tecan embeds its technology, its IP, its manufacturing processes deep into an OEM partner's product development cycle, it creates these super long-term relationships. For that partner to switch suppliers, it's not just finding a new vendor.
It's redesigning their whole product.
Complete redesign, plus extensive, incredibly expensive revalidation.
Yeah.
The new multi-year regulatory submissions to the FDA or other bodies, it's prohibitively costly and time-consuming. It effectively locks in those partnerships. It's much deeper than just supplying parts. 3B2, brand reputation and installed base. Second, you can't underestimate their brand reputation in that huge installed base. Over 40 years in the game. The Tecan name really means something in the scientific community. Swiss engineering, precision, reliability. Labs trust their equipment for critical work.
Okay.
And that large global installed base. It generates that powerful, predictable stream of recurring revenue from the consumables, reagents, service contracts we talked about.
The razor blades.
The razor blades. It reinforces loyalty and provides that stable financial foundation. 3B3, technological leadership in niche areas. Third, they maintain real technological leadership in key niche areas. High-precision liquid handling, yes, but also advanced robotics, sophisticated detection technologies. They focus on innovating modular, flexible platforms like their Cavro MagniFlex components for OEMs or the Fluent T workstation. This allows faster customization, adaptation to new science, quicker time to market for customers, keeps them cutting edge. 3B4, integrated solutions and regulatory expertise. And finally, they're moving beyond just selling instruments. Increasingly, they offer complete, validated workflow solutions.
The whole package again.
Right. Hardware, software, reagents, consumables, all validated to work together seamlessly. That simplifies things hugely for labs. And crucially, that Paramit acquisition massively boosted their ability to provide vertically integrated regulatory compliant manufacturing for medical devices. That deep regulatory expertise is a huge asset, especially with rules like the LDT framework tightening up. They don't just build stuff, they help partners navigate the toughest global standards. 3C, high barriers to entry. All of which raises the question, if this market is so good, why isn't everyone trying to jump in? Why aren't there dozens of Tecan wannabes?
Yeah, that's a good point. High growth, sticky customers, critical tech sounds great. What stops new competitors? What are these barriers to entry?
There are several pretty formidable barriers protecting incumbents like Tecan. Makes it tough for newcomers. First, just the sheer high capital investment and R&D costs.
It costs a lot to play.
A lot. Developing these sophisticated robotic systems, hiring specialized engineers, building cutting-edge manufacturing requires massive upfront investment. Tecan spent nearly 81 million Swiss francs on R&D in 2024. That's 7.3% of sales. Efficient for them, but a huge hurdle for a startup.
And you can't just buy that expertise overnight, I guess.
Exactly. That's the second barrier. Deep technical expertise and intellectual property. You need multidisciplinary know-how. Robotics, microfluidics, software, biology, chemistry. It's complex. And companies like Tecan protect their innovations fiercely with patents. It's hard to compete without infringing or spending years developing your own tech from scratch.
And the regulations. We talked about how that helps Tecan, but it must be a nightmare for newcomers.
Oh, absolutely. Barrier number 3, stringent regulatory hurdles. Navigating the FDA, the EU's IVDR, it's incredibly complex, costly, and time-consuming, especially for clinical or diagnostic products. Getting regulatory approval can take years and millions of dollars. Many startups just can't afford that journey. And finally, don't discount the power of established customer relationships and brand trust. Overcoming the decades-long trust Tecan has built with major pharma, biotech, and diagnostic companies. Very difficult. Labs are conservative. They don't switch lightly from proven, reliable suppliers for their critical work. Brand trust is huge. For C, financial resilience and strategic foresight.
Okay, so strong moat, great market position. But despite all that, you mentioned Tecan faced some headwinds recently. What happened in that 2022-2024 period? It sounded like a bit of a perfect storm.
It really was a challenging period, no doubt about it. It put their resilience to the test. They were integrating Pyramid, their biggest acquisition ever, right when several major headwinds hit simultaneously. But how they managed it is quite telling. 5EA1, post-COVID-19 demand normalization.
Let's start with the obvious one. COVID. Huge boom for life sciences tools then. The
Yeah.
drop-off.
Exactly. That was the biggest single factor. In 2020 and 2021, Tecan saw extraordinary growth, like many peers, driven by massive demand for automation and, crucially, pipette tips for COVID testing.
Right, billions of tests worldwide.
Billions. So that created this artificial peak. When that specific COVID demand inevitably declined, it made the year-over-year comparisons look really tough. Reported sales dropped to about 934 million Swiss francs in 2024, down 11.5% in local currencies.
Ouch.
Yeah. But this COVID hangover kind of masked the fact that their core non-COVID business lines were actually still growing quite healthily underneath. The overall number looked weaker because the comparison base was so inflated by the pandemic surge, 5EA2, macroeconomic and geopolitical pressures.
Okay, so the COVID comparison was tough. What else was hitting them? Sounds like broader economic stuff to you.
It really was a confluence of factors, a proper storm. First, like everyone, they faced supply chain and inflation issues, higher costs for raw materials, components, freight, squeezing margins.
Standard problem post-pandemic.
Right. Second, a persistent issue for Swiss companies. Currency headwinds. Tecan reports in Swiss francs, CHF, but makes most sales in US dollars and euros. The strong Swiss franc consistently eats into their reported sales and profits when converted back.
Can you give an example?
Sure. First half of 2025, sales were down 5.9% in Swiss francs, but only 3.7% in local currencies. That difference. Purely currency impact.
Significant.
It is. Then they had U.S. tariffs adding some pressure, low double-digit millions impact expected for 2025. And finally, regional market weakness. A noticeable slowdown in biopharma capital spending, especially in China, impacted both their direct sales and OEM partners, 40A3, strategic and operational responses.
Wow. Okay, so post-COVID dip, inflation, currency, tariffs, regional slowdown. How did management react? Did they just write it out or take action?
Oh, they were very proactive. They launched what they termed an operational resilience program. This wasn't just about cutting costs temporarily. It involved structural changes for long-term efficiency. Key moves included consolidating their U.S. footprint, strategically closing 2 California sites to streamline. They also shifted production of certain product lines to their lower-cost facility in Penang, Malaysia, optimizing their global manufacturing network.
Smart moves for efficiency.
Yes, and alongside all this, a huge operational focus was successfully integrating Pyramid. That's never easy, especially during tough times, aligning systems, processes, cultures, commercial teams, making sure they could fully leverage that medtech CDM potential. They made tough calls to position for future efficiency. IVB strength through the storm. Key financials.
So, facing all that, how did the actual numbers hold up? Did the financials crater, or did they show that resilience you talked about?
They showed remarkable resilience, actually, which really speaks volumes about the business model's strength and management discipline. Despite the sales drop, the financial profile remained robust. IVB1.
How
Profitability.
about profit margins? Did they collapse under the pressure?
Their adjusted EBITDA margin did compress, down to 17.6% in 2024 from 20.5% the year before. That's mainly due to negative operating leverage. Fixed costs hurt more when sales fall.
But 17.6% doesn't sound like a disaster.
No, not at all. For an industrial company facing that kind of sales decline, maintaining a margin near 18% is actually quite strong. It highlights their flexible cost structure and the impact of those resilience measures. It was managed compression, not a collapse. IVB2, cash generation.
Okay, margins held up okay. What about cash flow? That's often the real acid test in tough times, right? Can't really fake cash.
Cash generation was a real standout, perhaps the most impressive part. Operating cash flow stayed strong at around 148.5 million Swiss francs in 2024. Only a small dip from the stronger 2023. Shows very effective working capital management.
Okay.
And even better, their cash conversion, how much profit they actually turned into hard cash, improved dramatically. It hit 100% in 2024, up from about 77% in 2023.
So every franc of profit became a franc of cash.
Exactly. And that strong conversion actually continued into the first half of 2025, exceeding 100%. It really underlines the quality of Tecan earnings. They're not just accounting profits, they're generating real cash. IVB3. Balance sheet.
In the balance sheet, you mentioned they took on debt for Pyramid. Did that leave them stretched?
Not at all. Their balance sheet is a core strength. It's conservative. exceptionally strong, rock solid, really. As of the end of 2024, they were actually in a net liquidity position of over 153 million Swiss francs.
Meaning more cash than debt.
Yes. Their cash exceeded their total financial debt. They paid down the Paramit acquisition debt incredibly quickly.
Wow, after a $1 billion deal.
Yeah, it shows disciplined leverage management and powerful cash generation. That pristine balance sheet is a strategic weapon. It gives them huge flexibility for future M&A or organic growth without financial strain. They can act opportunistically. IVC growth drivers and strategic initiatives.
Okay, so they navigated the storm, came out financially strong. Looking forward now, what's the plan to get back to solid growth? How do they intend to capitalize on those megatrends?
Their growth strategy is definitely multifaceted. It's a combination of organic growth, innovating from within, and continuing their strategic M&A program. They have a clear roadmap, IVC1, organic growth prospects.
Let's start with organic growth. Where are they focusing their internal efforts?
It's heavily focused on innovation in the highest growth application areas within life sciences, targeting segments expanding faster than the overall market.
But like what specifically?
Areas like genomics, especially next-generation sequencing sample prep, crucial for personalized medicine. Proteomics, studying proteins. Advanced cell and tissue analysis, vital for drug discovery. Regenerative medicine. By providing automation for key bottlenecks in these complex, fast-growing fields, they capture more R&D budget share.
And new products to drive this.
Absolutely. New product development is key. We talked about the Veo workstation democratizing multi-omics. They're also doing strategic collaborations, like the Duo digital dispenser developed with HP, bringing disruptive tech for things like single-cell dispensing, which is a hot area.
Handling individual cells precisely.
Exactly. And of course, as their installed base of instruments grows globally, expanding their portfolio of consumables and reagents, the high-margin blades remains a core organic growth driver. More machines mean more recurring revenue. IVC2, market and vertical expansion.
Are they also looking beyond their current footprint? New geographic markets, different healthcare areas?
Yes, on both fronts. Geographically, while strong in North America and Europe, they see big potential in Asia-Pacific. They're strategically shifting from using distributors to establishing more direct sales presences in key countries there, like opening a direct office in South Korea in 2024. Allows closer customer relationships, better penetration.
Makes sense. And vertically.
That's where the Paramit acquisition was truly transformative. It gives them a robust platform for major growth in the medical device CDMO market.
Contract manufacturing for medical devices.
Right. Leveraging their precision engineering and manufacturing expertise for fast-growing mid-tech applications. Components for robotic surgery, implants, cardiovascular devices. These markets have different dynamics, different growth drivers than traditional lab tools, further diversifying their business. IVC3, acquisition strategy.
You keep mentioning Paramit. Is M&A still a big part of the plan going forward? What kind of acquisitions are they looking for?
Absolutely. M&A is still a central pillar. They have a proven, disciplined track record. Historically, they use smaller deals to enter adjacent tech areas, like NuGen for reagents, add key components, pulsar for pumps, or expand business models, IBL for immunoassays.
Bolt-ons, mostly.
Mostly. But the sheer scale of the Paramit deal signaled a potential shift towards larger, more transformative M&A. Deals that can fundamentally reshape their market position and accelerate growth. And that strong balance sheet gives them the firepower to pursue such deals if the right opportunity arises. IVC4, digital transformation initiatives.
And digitalization. We talked about it being a trend. What are Tecan's specific plans there? How do they build a digital moat?
They clearly see the future as connected and data-driven. They're investing significantly in building an open digital ecosystem. The goal is to create a new competitive advantage based on software intelligence and seamless data integration.
What does that mean in practice?
It means things like smart instruments using software like Introspect for remote monitoring, predictive maintenance. Imagine servicing a machine before it fails, avoiding disruption.
Yeah, that's valuable.
And they're focused on integrated workflow management platforms, software that connects not just Tecan instruments, but third-party ones too, allowing labs to manage entire complex workflows from one interface. That increases efficiency, reduces friction, and helps unlock deeper insights from all the data labs generate. V leadership and future outlook.
Okay, navigating all these challenges, opportunities, M&A, tech shifts requires strong leadership. And there's been a big change at the top recently, right? A new CEO.
Yes, a very significant strategic CEO transition is underway. Hugely important for their future direction and ambition. VA, the new captain at the helm.
So tell us about the change. Who's out, who's in?
Dr. Achim von Leoprechting, who led the company very successfully for about 6.5 years, is stepping down. Revenue grew around 60% under his tenure since 2018. Pretty
Good with
impressive.
his successor?
The incoming CEO taking over August 1st, 2025 is Monica Minotas. And what's really fascinating and I think quite telling is her background. She brings over 2 decades of senior executive experience from Thermo Fisher Scientific.
Wow, the industry giant?
It's exactly the biggest player. And what's more, she's not entirely new to Tecan. She's been on their board of directors since April 2024. So she knows the company, the strategy, the challenges intimately already.
So what does bringing in someone from Thermo Fisher signal?
I think it's a very deliberate, strategic move by the board. It looks like an effort to infuse that big player DNA into Tecan, leveraging her expertise in scaling global operations, driving commercial execution at a massive scale, perhaps even navigating larger M&A. It signals real ambition to accelerate growth, maybe push Tecan towards competing even more directly with those giants. That's a very exciting appointment. VB capital allocation, balancing growth and shareholder returns.
Okay, ambitious new leadership. How does Tecan manage its finances overall? Where do the priorities lie? Reinvesting for growth, returning cash to shareholders. What's the philosophy?
They have a very disciplined and balanced approach. The philosophy seems to be prioritize strategic M&A for long-term growth, because that's proven effective for them, but also consistently return capital to shareholders, showing confidence in ongoing profitability. It's about maximizing long-term value through both avenues. VB1, M&A strategy, and track record.
M&A is clearly key. How do they fund these big deals like Paramit without getting into financial trouble?
M&A is the cornerstone of their inorganic growth. And the Paramit deal, at $1 billion, really showcased their sophisticated financing approach. They didn't just use one method. It was funded via existing cash, plus issuing a CHF $250 million bond and placing CHF $357.5 million in new shares.
A mix of sources.
Exactly, a multifaceted strategy that let them do a huge deal while keeping the capital structure manageable. It shows they have the capability and likely the appetite for similar large deals in the future if the fit is right, backed by that strong balance sheet. VB2, dividend policy.
What about dividends for shareholders? Is it steady, growing?
Very much so. Tecan has a well-regarded policy of stable and, over time, growing dividends. They've consistently increased the payout per share over the last decade, a strong sign of health.
Okay.
And for fiscal 2024, despite the earnings dip due to those headwinds, they propose keeping the dividend stable at CHF 3.000 per share.
Holding it steady even in a tough year.
Yes. And that's a strong signal from management. It says, we're confident this downturn is temporary, our long-term earnings power is intact.
Yeah.
Their payout ratio is usually pretty conservative too, maybe around 30% of earnings typically, leaving plenty of cash for reinvestment. VB3, share buyback programs.
Are they buying back their own shares? That can be another way to return value. Sometimes signals the stock is cheap.
Yes, and this is a notable shift. Just recently, August 12, 2025, they announced a significant new share buyback program up to 120 million Swiss francs over 2 years.
That is significant. Why now?
Well, it marks a definite evolution in their capital return policy, especially after focusing heavily on the Paramit investment and seeing their share price decline somewhat during the recent market turbulence. The timing strongly suggests management might see their shares as undervalued right now.
An attractive time to buy them back.
Exactly. And it also gives them flexibility. They can use the repurchased shares for future M&A or other general purposes. It reinforces that commitment to shareholder value. VB4, insider ownership.
One last thing on governance. How aligned are the people running the show management, the board, with regular shareholders? Do they have skin in the game?
Alignment looks strong, and they've actually proactively strengthened it recently. In 2023 and 2024, Tecan introduced new, tougher minimum shareholding requirements for both the management board and the board of directors.
Meaning executives have to own a certain amount of stock.
Yes. Requires them to hold a significant amount of their compensation and personal wealth in Tecan shares. It ensures they have a direct, vested financial interest in the company's long-term success and share price appreciation. Directly aligns their incentives with all shareholders. Sends a clear message. We're invested alongside you. Outro.
Wow. Okay. We have covered a lot of ground here. A really deep dive into Tecan Group, a company that, yeah, truly embodies that idea of behind every great scientific discovery is great instrumentation.
Absolutely.
We've seen this fascinating dual business model building these incredibly sticky relationships, riding powerful megatrends in biotech, pharma, and navigating some serious headwinds with impressive financial resilience.
And really setting the stage for future growth under ambitious new leadership,
Yeah.
that rock-solid balance sheet, the growing recurring revenue, the strategic M&A program, combined with that focus on high-growth applications and digital transformation, it positions them incredibly well.
There are still challenges, obviously.
Oh, sure. Currency exposure isn't going away for a Swiss exporter, maybe some customer concentration risks. But those durable competitive advantages we discussed, the OEM mode, the regulatory expertise, they provide a really solid foundation to manage those risks and capitalize on the long-term opportunities.
It really makes you appreciate the invisible infrastructure, doesn't it? How much of tomorrow's science, those breakthroughs we read about, might depend on these precision machines humming away, often hidden behind another company's brand.
It's a powerful reminder that innovation isn't always the flashy end product. Sometimes it's the enabling technology, the meticulous engineering quietly making it all possible.
So maybe a final thought for our listeners to chew on.
Well, perhaps consider this. What new frontiers will automation unlock next? In science, in medicine? Where does this relentless drive for precision and scale take us? And how will companies like Tecan continue to shape that landscape, maybe in ways we can't even imagine yet?
A fascinating question. That's all for this deep dive into Tecan Group. Thank you so much for joining us on this exploration into the hidden world of lab automation.
My pleasure.
We really hope you're leaving with a deeper understanding, maybe some surprising insights. Until next time, keep digging, keep learning, and yeah, stay curious.